Hey everybody, I am coming to you and bringing a little bonus video. For those of you who've tuned in the morning devotionals, you know that we've been working our way through these songs of the ascents. And this is a bonus video here on Friday night that we're just rolling out just because, but it's connected to our morning series in a unique way. In Psalm 24, which is a Psalm of David, we have a paragraph that I want to read from. Now, this is not one of the songs of the ascents, but it references the same idea, right? So just to remind you, the songs of the ascents, these were songs that Israel sang as they ascended up the hill in Jerusalem toward the temple to worship. And here in Psalm 24, David, he asks a question about that pilgrimage up the hill toward worship. And he says this, he says, "Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord?" This is Psalm 24, beginning in verse 3. "Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? And who shall stand in his holy place?" That's where the temple is. He says, "He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to what is false and does not swear deceitfully." Then he says, "He will receive blessing from the Lord and righteousness from God, for the God of his salvation. Such is the generation of those who seek him, who seek the face of the God of Jacob." So I thought that that's an interesting question. Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? And who shall go to that holy place? Well, notice how he says that those who are allowed to go to the temple to worship, they are the ones who have clean hands and a pure heart, who don't lift their soul up to what's false and don't swear deceitfully. Just so you understand what's happening here, is David is talking about the process by which people would go and worship. And what happened in Israel is oftentimes people would want to go to the temple to worship, but they would have to first meet before a priest. And when they would meet before the priest would make sure that they were good to go, that their lives were matching accordingly to the way they should to go up and be in God's presence. And often that would include ceremonial washings to make sure that people were ceremonially clean. But here it also talks about moral behavior, right? Pure heart. You're not worshiping things that are false, like idols. You're not swearing deceitfully. You've lived rightly. And so because you've been doing what's good, you're allowed to have access to God's presence. That's what the priest would tell the people. And then they would go up the hill. And we also know that there would be a certain priest, right, the high priest, who once a year, he would ascend that hill and he would enter into the holy place, but then he would go into the most holy place once a year with the blood of an animal, and he would sprinkle that on the mercy seat, and he would provide atonement for the sins of the people for that year, and so he would intercede for them. And he would also have to be very, very pure, very, very clean, because if he went in that most holy place and he wasn't pure, he wasn't clean, often the people would think, and this is true, the priest would drop dead because he's in the presence of a holy, righteous God, and he didn't have his heart in the right place. And so this is just an interesting psalm, and I was thinking about this, and then I was thinking about, what about us? What about our ability to draw near to a holy and righteous God? Do we have clean hands or a pure heart? Have we been doing what's right? Have we been swearing deceitfully or lifting up our soul to what's false? What about us? Can we go to God, and do we have access to go and ascend that hill and worship? Well, there's good news for us. You see, because Jesus, the true and better high priest, he entered into the Holy of Holies, the most holy place, not with the blood of bulls or goats or an animal, but with his own blood. He entered into the most holy place, and through his blood, he atoned for the sins of his church, his people, not just for 1 year, but forever and ever and ever. And so because Jesus entered that most holy place with his own blood and offered atonement for us, we're told in the book of Hebrews that we can now come boldly to the throne of grace. We can ascend that hill because Jesus has positionally made us clean and pure. In fact, it goes on, it says he'll receive a blessing from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. Well, because Jesus has won our salvation by entering into that most holy place with his blood, we are now declared righteous. And so the cool thing is, as I read through this psalm, talking about this hill of the Lord and how it's all connected to the songs of the ascents, I'm just so thankful. And I think we can all be so thankful that we have a great high priest who declares us pure, who declares us right in God's eyes because of what he's done on our behalf. And so as we close out this little bonus video this evening, I just have a little challenge for you and for your family. Because we can now ascend to that hill and we can come right into the presence of God and we can come boldly. Take this moment, maybe this evening, maybe tomorrow morning when you wake up with your family, at some point, maybe this weekend, take time as a family to worship the Lord together, to draw near to God, to draw near to Him in prayer, to come boldly, because we have a great high priest who's gained access for us, and so we can now ascend the hill and worship the Lord.